Hello, this is Lisa LaRose here on Connect to Love on PRNFM, and I have a big smile in my heart because I'm joined by the incredible Michael J. Ross, who always inspires me, and I want to welcome you, Michael, and I'm so excited for our conversation today. So welcome to you.
I am loving being here. I love this opportunity to sit and just, let my mind run free. So appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I know, you and me both. Michael and I have been talking a lot about the concept of perfection, and I couldn't help in that idea of perfection think about Mary Poppins, who was practically perfect in every way. She was one of my idols, I guess, when I was a little kid. I loved the movie Mary Poppins, and when she took out a ruler and she measured Jane, and then she measured Michael, and then she measured herself, and when she looked at it, she said, "Oh, exactly, I'm practically perfect in every way." I thought, when we were talking about this idea of perfection, I thought, you know what? That's really what we need. We need a tape measure that says you're practically perfect in every way, or you are perfect in every way. And she was, in my mind, absolutely 100% perfect because she could jump from the real world into the imaginary world, into the sidewalk where all of these amazing things unfolded. And she never saw anything other than the possibilities that lay before her. So I'm excited for this exploration, Michael. I'd love to hear what was bubbling for you.
Well, thank you. This concept of perfection, I've always said for a long time that perfection is a moving target, something that we'll never be able to hit when we focus on it. And I'm rethinking that whole concept now, and based on what you sent me yesterday that came up on one of your subscriptions. And, we spend so much time, but looking to achieve perfection, let's just say it that way. We desire perfection. And what really is it? It's a construct that we create in our minds that is this way one day and that way another day, because we have now new information that gives us a different idea of what perfection should be for us, right? To give you a simple example, if I'm going to clean the house, my idea of perfection when I clean the house is I want to be able to look at the floors and look at the countertops and tables and other things, and I don't want to see dust. Obviously, I want to, and I don't want to see stuff on the floor that I missed. Sheets off the bed, washed on the bed, everything's perfect. However, what happens if along that line something else occurs, right? You've got animals, things happen. And what was perfect for you one moment now isn't. And what happens? It causes negative feelings of emotions. We take a dive down into the lower frequencies of frustration. So our idea of perfection is thrown about, so to speak, And so how do we perceive perfection? What do we look at it? I personally myself, I know that the idea, I've come to understand that even in my golf game, perfection is fleeting, because what's perfect in one moment you have to expect isn't going to be that exact same way in another moment, because the conditions are totally different. You have a perfect swing, and it was based on the level of the ground, the mile per hour of the wind, whether you were relaxed or not, where your head was, what you were thinking about. The distance is different. Everything's different. So the idea of perfection continually changes. And I like the idea of what you sent, which is perfect your moment, not your outcome. Perfect your moment. I mean, this is so brilliant that I'm going to go use it on Saturday morning. Okay, when I go play my round Saturday morning, and I've always approached golf from this perspective and told people that the actions you take, the only perfection you really want to achieve is in the 15 seconds that you're controlling everything about what your outcome will be, and that is standing over the ball, what you're thinking, your breathing, how relaxed you are. That 15 seconds before you strike the ball is the most important part of it. If your head is somewhere else, if your body's tense, if you're thinking about some mistake you made 4 holes ago, and you're saying to yourself, I hope this doesn't happen again. I hope that doesn't happen again. I hope what happened on this hole last time I played it doesn't happen again. That's not going to in any way help your outcome because you're not in the moment. The question I have to ask you, and this is the thing that I was thinking about, what is perfection in the moment? It's a fluid thing, right? What do you think it is?
Well, there was a quote that I read, and again, this is divine perfection. There's a book I have on Buddha's brain, all about happiness, love, and wisdom. And so before the show, I don't know, I picked up the book, and I opened it to chapter 6, and in there it said strong intentions. And there was a quote, do all you can with all that you have in the time that you have in the place that you are. I thought, that's perfection. That is perfection.
Read it back one more time. I want to hear
Do all you can with all that you have in the time that you have in the place where you are.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what you do when you're standing over the ball. You do everything you can in that very moment, and you have to let the rest go.
Without a doubt. I think, Michael, for me, when I think about that feeling of being in that moment and in the place where you are, in the perfection of who you are, I think that feeling of feeling perfect and truly trusting that you are exactly who you are in this moment, wherever you came from. And I think that sometimes we take the power of progress. We set these goals, and we have this idea of how things should unfold perfectly. And it never really, I don't think too many people have things unfold exactly the way they are. So how do you have an unshakable sense of accomplishment that you are in perfection? And it is about that same thing, embracing progress, not perfection. Where were you 6 months ago, a year ago? How far have you come? Because when you look back, you think, well, I met this person, and then this door opened up, and maybe I had a few speed bumps. I didn't quite have as much money as I expected during this particular time of my life, but it made me budget a little bit differently. And so when I was in the store that I normally wouldn't go in because something was on sale, I met this person and it opened that doorway. That's feeling perfect in my perspective.
Yeah, I agree. Things that happen, it's interesting because we can see it, realize it, I should say, when it has occurred. When it has occurred, we can realize that it occurred, right? Going back to the golf analogy, when I hit a shot and it does something that I intended it to do, based on the way I prepared, the way that I sought perfection, to achieve perfection in the moment that I made or executed the shot, and all of a sudden it's beyond my wildest dreams. We can see the result, and now we jump to the, wow, that is amazing, that is fantastic, and then the tendency is to always say, I don't believe I did that, right? Which pretty much puts the strike mark through everything. You got no. I can see my guide going, no. You and whenever I find myself wanting to say that, instead I say, I knew I could do that. You know, I knew I could do that. That is the way I know I can play, right? And it recognizes me. Hey, I'm grateful. I did that. I achieved that. I achieved what I had intended to do. That the perfection that I created in that moment led to this outcome. And the outcome is better than I could have expected. And again, we always have a tendency to kind of beat us up about what we have prepared to do, the perfection that we've created for ourselves in that moment. And it's stifling when I hear somebody else say that. I go, no, don't say that. You know, I never believed that.
Cancel.
Yeah,
right.
Well, that's exactly what you're doing. You're canceling. Instead of getting, this will be this way. The other thing that was said that was absolutely so brilliant that went along with it is the fact that the thing that it was the continuation of this, which I thought was absolutely even more brilliant, that to achieve more perfection, the goal is to feel perfect, not be perfect. Okay, now we've taken this away from one aspect of what we've been focusing on our entire lives about what we thought perfection was supposed to be. Like for us, I am perfect. Like Mary Poppins, right? You opened up the show with Mary Poppins, right? I am perfect, right? And here comes someone with something incredibly brilliant and profound that says the goal is to feel perfect, not be perfect. Now, what would Mary Poppins say to that one? But that's what I was thinking about here. I was like, wait, hang on a second. This is kind of like antithetical so much. Here's the rest of it. Feeling perfection brings perfection, so feel it until it arrives, right? It's the old fake it till you feel it. Fake it till you feel it, as what I used to tell people, decades ago. If you're not excited, feel excited. Fake excitement until you actually aren't faking it anymore, because that's the way you do it. And even Bashar said the same thing, right? You have to. It's sort of like even what Carol and the teachers say. It's a hack. It's a hack.
Mm-hmm.
The feeling excited is to fake excitement. Think of something that excites you other than what you're unexcited about. Let that excitement bleed into the moment of what you're not excited about, and you'll be excited about it because you've transferred those feelings, right? And I've done that a lot. I've done that a ton in my lifetime, a ton, because that's what you do. That's what you do. Is fake it till you feel it. You fake the perfection, fake the feeling of perfection, and I've been thinking about that all day. It's been bouncing around in my head like a ping pong ball. What is that? What does that mean to you when I say that? Feeling perfection, to feel perfect.
I think, Michael, it has a lot to do with how you respond and your choices. And you had sent me a video this morning, and it was from Bashar, and he talked about the stepping stones, how we have this opportunity to, you have these stepping stones in front of you, right? So you can step on this one and you step on that one, and sometimes you might miss a stone, but you can jump from stone to stone. It's your choice. It is your choice. And I think that when you are sort of in this, 3D world, I guess, is how I would put it, you really have to learn how to trust your feelings and what it is with your life. You observe how you're feeling. And for Mary Poppins, going back to Mary, and when anybody would question her, she would just look at them like, you're the crazy person, not me. And I think that's almost goes along with Bashar's attitude of, so what? So, maybe your pants aren't fitting quite the way that you wanted them to fit this spring. So what? You know what to do. And know that whatever it was, that maybe having those few extra pounds kept you a little bit warmer and kept you away from a cold. And now that it's spring and summer, you get out and you're doing exercise, and you're just perfect. My body is perfect. And I was with somebody yesterday who was saying, well, I'm such and such an age and these pains are to be expected. And I thought, heck no, not in my world. It doesn't even come across. I don't speak that language because I see myself every day in perfect health. I'm just, whatever it is, I don't even let them come up in my radar screen. And I know you don't either.
No. Yeah. I just literally agree with that 110%. We have to be very, very cognizant of what we're allowing into our heads and what we're investing in, our time and our energy, our frequency into, right? Is that going to be received in a positive way? I'm constantly, when I'm interacting with people and I get a sense that what I say isn't going to make a hill of beans worth of difference, I just let them feel the way they feel. I'm not there to just interject, when it's not really wanted, when it's not going to be accepted, right? So that is that's a sense that I get. It doesn't happen all the time, but I when it happens, when I'm someone's talking about something or dealing with an issue or a problem or whatever, if I don't feel they're open to another way of seeing it or any comment that I might make that could maybe stifle them out of that, pivot them from where they are in terms of their thought, then I just stay quiet and just let them go on. Because you know what? Maybe it's just they'll figure it out on their own. Maybe they have information and they just need to tap into it or be open to it. And the only way we can be open to something new or guidance that we know is there for us is to get quiet, just meditate or focus on one thing, and it will come. Go clean your closet. You know? Go clean your closet.
Right.
Go straighten
and
up your garage.
Bashar brought that up, too.
Yeah. Go
he did
straighten
bring
up your
that
garage.
up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Straighten your
garage.
garage.
And he said the more you do it, he said somebody might show up one day. Like it was how you felt about it. It was how you felt about cleaning your closet. That if you looked at it like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm having to do my closet, rather than embracing it and saying, wow, look at this. Look at the progress I've made in my closet. Gotten rid of all those clothes I no longer wear. And he said, and someday somebody may show up and be like, hey, guess what? I'm here to clean your closet. And that's how you create that perfection.
Right. Exactly. That's why you do it. And it's wonderful, to think about this. It's another to be able to mitigate the circumstances that prevent you, that are preventing you from feeling perfect. It's really interesting. It's one of those other things that requires focus, requires attention, requires awareness. We feel the way we feel because we allow ourselves to feel that way. In my view, that's the way it runs. And when we are so focused on running down a rabbit hole of 3D circumstances, events or misfortunes or accidents, whatever people like to label them, we are taken away from the understanding that we are the one creating how we feel in that moment.
Without a doubt. Mm-hmm.
This is another one of those circumstances where, feeling perfection, we know it. It sounds great. It's brilliant. This is another thing for me to focus on day in and day out, be cognizant of at all times. And being cognizant of it at all times is the way that I'm going to make it a habit in my life, to be more attentive to creating perfect feelings in the moment.
Right.
Feeling perfect in the moment. I mean, that's just, wow, it's mind-blowing to me.
Truly.
Because we focus on everything else. In the 3D world, we have tasks. We do these tasks, right? It's one thing, it's another. We set goals for ourselves. Oh my gosh, I heard that this morning from somebody else. You need a goal. You need a goal, right? You're like, yeah. Every manifestational point about manifestation, I should say, that I've heard in the last 6 months has, including Bashar, including the teachers, it's not about putting your finger in the bullseye and saying that's the goal, right? And focusing on that thing and seeing it and self-talking it and all that. That's not it. It's something completely different. In order to achieve that thing, you have to create all these emotions and energies around it, and then you got to let it go and forget about it. Right? Completely different. You're like, what are you talking about?
Truly.
I have to set the goal, and I don't have to concern myself. I don't want to be concerned with the how I get there. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. That's a trip up, right? You don't have to concern yourself with how. You have to let it go. You have to let your higher self and your guide work it out. Work out the how, bring you the circumstances, the synchronicities that actually lead you to in that direction, but not to the bullseye. That bullseye, likely going to be the bullseye right next to that bullseye, or on the other side of that bullseye. I mean, and when you start looking at that, you go, oh, wait a minute, hold on a second. I've been doing things completely the wrong way here for my entire life. My mother and father said, set a goal, son, set a goal, and work towards that goal, and build your blocks, and then, when your blocks are all built, you'll have achieved the goal. And nothing ever turned out the way that
You're right.
It was aligned with the goal, with the way I thought it was.
I'm chuckling because I think you're 100% right, Michael. When you shift your perspective on that, it impacts how perfectly everything unfolds. And I go back to the quote that you read about the goal is to feel perfect, not to be perfect. And so I think that when you allow to be adaptable and embrace the unexpected twists and turns that life throws at you, because it's just the way life is, then, and you focus on your progress, not your perfection, you learn to see any mistakes as those stepping stones, not roadblocks. And it's so interesting because my mother was so organized and so neat and tidy, and my father was so organized and so neat and tidy.
Really?
And I think they canceled themselves out in me because I am an artist and I'm very clean, but I'm your typical artist. I have piles of books and I have this and I have different things, different places. You can ask me where anything is in my house, though, and I can go right to it. I know exactly where everything is. I can tell you how much I paid for something. It just sounds so strange, but I had, when I was just out of college, I dated somebody. He was a physicist. That's what he went to school for. He ended up not being a physicist later on in life. But it was interesting because he was the first person that introduced me to chaos theory. And I was like, what is chaos theory? And chaos theory is all about the science of surprises and things being nonlinear and unpredictable. And that would be me. I'm practically perfect in my own chaos.
Right.
But I am
you don't see
able...
it. I don't. You don't perceive it as chaos.
Because I don't. And what I would tell people, if I took a bag of marbles and I threw them up in the air and they land on the ground, they're not going to land in a straight line. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. No. And that nonlinear is sort of like my nonlinear approach to life, so that when I get these speed bumps, like yesterday, hey, your basement smells like natural gas. I'm like, okay. It's not like, oh, catastrophe, I've got to call the gas company, I've got to do this. I called my furnace guy and said, hey, smelling natural gas. I think it'll be okay tomorrow morning. Why don't we connect in the morning? And it was taken care of. But for me, I don't do well with drama, and that's my own acceptance of my perfection. I like things to be everything with ease and grace. And although it may seem a little contradictory, because some things in my world, some people would perceive as chaotic, and they'll say, well, I've had a lot of friends say, I don't know how you do that. You just, you're all of these different things, and you're just so calm. But I guess I just sort of have adapted and really embraced that whatever unfolds is happening for a reason, and it's practically perfect in every way.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
How about you, Michael? I think you're a lot more organized than I am, so. But that's okay. We complement each other.
It really does depend. I'm not organized when I play the drums. I kind of let it flow and kind of let it happen. When it comes to golf, same thing. I have, since I'm in the moment of what I'm doing and only focused on, little square box I'm in and what I have control of at any given point in time, the outcome, isn't linear. And it never is, because there's always something that could occur. If wrist tension or hand tension is too tight upon impact because of something that I thought I had or something that goes on. I mean, listen, if everybody put a golf club in their hand and hit the ball straight, or hit the ball left when they needed to, or hit the ball right when they needed to, it would be a boring game. Life isn't like that. Life is not from A, B, C, D, E, and then arrive at Z after 4 hours. That's not the way it is. We know that. So that's the reason I love golf, is that it's not like that. It really kind of teaches me to be in the moment of where I am. It gives me every opportunity to practice letting go of things that didn't go well, to see them as opportunities to get better versus reasons to fail at the whole reasons the whole round goes to pot. That is the recovery, the ability to recover. That's what golf teaches people, me and everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
It really is a platform for teaching yourself how to recover from disasters, the things that you label as disasters, unfortunate, misfortunate situations, and that word everybody loves to use, adversity. It's 4 hours of adversity put in your face, and how are you going to respond to it? My focus is simply, if that shot didn't go well, the next one can. And the next one can because I'm focused on the next one. I immediately shift gears to how can I respond to this in a positive way versus, oh my God, beating myself up about the last effort and I'm still doing it when I'm encountering the next effort. Right? That's what a lot of people do, which is why a lot of people quit the game. They're in this inability to let go of personal failure because they see it as failure, right?
Right.
That's what they label it as. And it's one of those things that I happen to love about the game. And there's nothing more gratifying than not playing well on the first half of the round and then mentally and physically turning it around on the backside of the round and playing 10 times better, to the point where you look at your card and you go, look at this, and that. How did I score that after I had these 5 holes that were not so good by any stretch of the imagination? And when you see professionals playing golf, that's pretty much it as well. They succeed. The cream of the crop succeeds because they have the ability. That they've worked on their talents. They've helped perfect their talents. Listen, whatever you do in life, whatever your hobbies are, attempting to do it to the best of your ability should be a passion, and something that excites you, something that drives you to do it. And if not, find a new hobby, right?
Right.
At least that's what I always tell them, and that's Prashar says it. You said it. Hey, find a new hobby. You don't have to beat yourself into submission to be good at something. And,
right.
And you may not have that little bit of je ne sais quoi, so to speak, that enables you to be as brilliant as you think you can be or that you want to be. Right? That bullseye. Right. That bullseye. They say, this is what a lot of people used to do. A friend of mine used to tell me, they would come to me and want golf lessons, and their bullseye was to play as good as Tiger Woods. Well,
wow.
Right, yeah.
That's not a little bullseye.
That's not a bullseye. Wow. That's like a whole planet you're trying to, it's really crazy. So and he would tell them right off the bat, he said, I had to realign their expectations. This is not a game that you're going to play like Tiger Woods, no matter how hard you try. You don't have the same circumstances. You don't have the same capabilities. You didn't grow up in the same place with the same father, with the same circumstances, blah, blah. I could go on and on and on and on. You have to work with what you have, right? You can be good. You can be satisfied with your play. And good is a function of your own judgment, right? To me, great is shooting between a range. And in many cases, it's actually recovering to play better. Where at the end of the round, I can look at my card and say, that wasn't so great. But I turned it around. I pivoted and I moved in a positive direction mentally and physically as a result. And to me, I go within the game feeling so good. And it's not focusing on the putts that lipped out or missed or, the ones that left short and all the little things that add up. It's interesting because there's an analogy that I love using, that if you were wearing a backpack in the morning, you start out with an empty backpack, and every time you had a negative thought, you had an event that occurred that you invested in unnecessarily, emotion, you invested your energy and emotion into, becomes a brick. You're not going to let it go. So you're going to put the brick in your backpack, and you're going to, by the end of the day, how heavy is your backpack? How many things did you stick in that backpack because you didn't want to let them go? And if you can say, you know what, my backpack was empty, because that's the whole idea, is to get rid of that brick as quickly as possible. And in many cases,
right.
don't even let the brick develop in the first place. Don't make it. Don't put it in the kiln. Don't shape it.
True.
Yeah,
right.
Don't do that. Right, absolutely.
Oh, that's a wonderful analogy, Michael. And I think that when we acknowledge our efforts and celebrate the fact that we're good enough, rather than the perfection of having to be perfect, we free ourselves from that it's just paralyzing to think of it. And I never played golf. I did play disc golf. Actually, the same physicist boyfriend, he loved to play disc golf. And I remember the first time that I went out and I used his discs, and I stunk. And I was like, I don't know that I can do this. But I stuck with it, and I got my own Frisbee disc so that I could go out and play, and I got a lot better, and I got, and I felt good. I never would have accomplished what he did. He'd been playing for years, but I would have missed out on some beautiful sunny days and time spent with other people that I would have never met, and then they had disc competitions, and it was a lot of fun, and I was good enough for me. I think that I had, and I think some of it too, Michael, I'd love for your comment on this, is the need for self-compassion in that idea of perfection. Like, what if you, I guess maybe the advice in addition to the backpack, how would you help somebody foster a sense of self-compassion, self-worth, when they feel that need to be perfect rather than to feel perfect?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I would seek to help them realize that there's no upside to beating yourself up. There's no upside. And just like there's no upside to worry or frustration or anger or any other negative feeling and emotion, there's no upside to it. And that what they're actually doing is inhibiting them from achieving the things that they really want to achieve, because they're putting roadblocks up in their way, mental roadblocks, and those mental roadblocks are the things that are really frustrating them. It's a cycle, an evolutionary cycle of, okay, this thing happened, I'm going to react this way to it, and that way is going to be negative, and I'm going to get all ticked off, and if I had anything to do with it, I'm going to beat myself up about it. You shouldn't have done that, you stupid idiot, blah, blah, blah. And and all of that, not only does it waste a lot of time, a lot of energy, right, and a lot of frequency, it just ruins it all. It just uses it all up. It actually, as you like to say, sucks out all the oxygen in the room. There's nothing left for anything positive, because they've done that. And I would seek to do one other thing, and that is help them realize that by letting go of that, by letting go of the frustration and anger by that wells up as quickly as possible. There's nothing wrong. We're human. We're going to respond in many cases. The first response will be negative. I've just come to understand that. It is with me. That's not the point. The point is to let it go quickly and shift and pivot to positivity, to seeing it a different way, to realizing that, oops, okay, all right, I got a little upset there for a second. However, another way to look at this is as an opportunity. How is it an opportunity? Help me understand how this could be an opportunity for me. Let me see what other angles I can look at this from. And the more you do that, the easier it actually becomes for you. I guess is the point I'd like to make, is that it's something that we have to focus on. Another thing we have to be aware of is how we're feeling, and to be able to mitigate those feelings as quickly as possible, to transmute those feelings, to shift around our perception, our perspective, the way we're seeing ourselves in relationship to it. The other thing, too, is something we've talked about many times, which is immediately forgiving yourself. And in golf, I do this a lot. I do this a lot because when you have the reason people quit golf is because they are unable to handle their own imperfection. That's the reason they quit. and what stems from that, all the negative feelings and emotions that stem from them doing something, not being able to really, they can blame the club, they can blame the weather, they can blame the lie that they had, the angle of the grass, how was it tall, too short, the course was narrow, the day was cloudy, the wind was blowing. You can blame everything, okay, for the reason why it didn't happen. However, that has nothing to do with it. It was your effort, and you must accept and forgive yourself for that effort that you had that didn't go so well. Let it go. Forgive yourself. Say Ho'oponopono if you need to, right? Just forgive it and let it go. And then immediately upon that occurring, see it as an opportunity to save the hole, to actually, it's in golf, if regulation says it's going to take 4 shots and you wasted 2 going into the woods, it doesn't mean that you can't miraculously put the ball in the hole in regulation. You have 2 strokes to do it. The question is, are you going to focus on the way that will occur and the miracle that you can manifest as a result because of your positive feelings and emotions and your perfection and your feelings, or are you going to focus on beating yourself up about the thing that happened and drag that into the moment of the creativity that you really need? Because all that, that's what happens. And that's what, in life, business, relationship, I've seen people just, especially in relationship, and I've learned this myself the hard way, because it doesn't feel good to admit that you needed to be right, and you went through this dog and pony show of negativity to try and prove it, and it still didn't do any good, right? Because that's what we in relationships. There's this unfortunate competition, that this hierarchy. We instead of being equals with each other, we in many cases, the man or the woman, whomever in the relationship, or both, need to feel that they got a leg up on the other person, right? That maybe they're smarter about things than not, and really it leads to a lot of friction, unnecessary friction. Friendships are like this too, and so being that is the case, when we give up our need to be right, and when we accept that we can, we don't know everything, that we're not perfect. We might be perfect in feeling, but we're not perfect in movement or anything else. That, or in the 3D aspect of things, I guess is what I'm referring to. Is we're not perfect in that, and we have to allow latitude. We have to be agile, flexible and agile mentally to be able to cope with whatever it is that you face. The miracle will occur. And I can tell you, I could go on and on about miracles that have happened to me on the golf course. And they happen in life when we open up the pathway, give it space to occur, right? We have to give it space to occur. That requires positivity, requires this perfection of feelings. It requires us to let go of, in our heads, of things that didn't go so well, things that we put on our grid that are there that we now refer to, that we trigger. And I know people do this all the time. I know on a golf course we do it in relationships as well. I mean, you react so intensely to something in a negative way that it creates a huge impression on your grid, on the grid, the subconscious, right? And then something happens that is similar, that might have a micro amount of what the reason why you think the other thing occurred, and now all of a sudden you're experiencing those same feelings all over again. My ex-girlfriend did that. And now you're just going off
oh my gosh!
You're going off and
I know the loop only too well. I've encountered people that are stuck in that loop. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, and you're looking at them like they're absolutely crazy, and they don't know why they're doing it, but they're doing it. They're going off into la la land because it in their mind subconsciously they're playing back this tape of the negative feelings and emotions that were so heavy, right? I'm going like, wow. I'm like, let me just step away from this for a while and change the subject, let them cool off, whatever. And it occurs. So
right.
The need to be, I hope that kind of answers your question, I guess. More than, and actually it piques another question because you had sent me another audio from Bashar that he said, and it talked about simple things being that simple, and he said that we don't mean easy; it's just that simple. And I think that there is the same issue with the word perfect. People have equated the word perfect with excellence, that it's being excellent. When you are perfect, it is an excellent thing. But I believe that excellence is what happens to you when you do your best over and over. Whatever it is, every day I get up, I can only do my best. And as long as I've done my best, truly, like that's my integrity with myself. Like if I slack off and I'm not doing, and then I try to pretend that, oh yeah, I did my best. No, I know in my heart that I didn't. But I think as you continue to do your best over and over again, it will eventually evolve into that excellence every step of the way. But it perplexes me because somewhere along the way, simple became easy and perfect became excellent. And there is somewhere a disconnect, and I don't know how we go about correcting that. Wow. Okay, that's an interesting can of worms to unpack. It's not something I actually realized, but that's brilliant because in terms of observation, because that is what people do. The excellence, you hear about this, excellence when it comes to, I know, the business world and when you're an entrepreneur, you want excellence as a CEO, you want excellence, and you're requiring excellence from everybody else. What does that mean? Excuse my language, but what does that mean, right? What is that excellence versus, there isn't even a distinction made between excellence and perfection. You're right, they have become synonymous. Excellence is perfection is excellence. No, not really, right? Which is what we're saying. We're positing that is not the case. That when people say excellent, they are referring to the goal being met, the bullseye being hit. That's excellent for many people. That's what they mean, right? Then they say, oh, that's perfect, right? And then I believe that's how that connection gets how the connection is made between that. Oh, perfect, do that again. That was perfect, do that again. That was excellent. That was perfect, right? The two go together and then they get muddled. And perfection to someone may be just being able to just enjoy the sport of archery. Maybe that's it, how it makes them feel when they have control of the bow and forgot what the other thing is. But,
arrow. The bow and arrow.
Bow and the arrow. There we go. I'm thinking to myself
right.
crazily.
Yeah, you let it fly, right?
Yeah, you just you got
to pull back the string and let it fly.
Right, just being able to go through the motions and have it occur. Special Olympics. Let's just talk about that for a second, because in my view, it's the feeling of perfection. To me, that's what Special Olympics means to me. It's not excellence from a perspective of you're doing this thing or that thing, in an excellent, you're excellent at that thing. It's being able to engage and take it as far as you can take it and have fun doing it. To me, that's what it's all about. I mean, to define it in a different way. However, that to me, that's what comes to mind when I see, I've been donating to Special Olympics for years, and it just makes you, the emotion that it can evoke when you see someone who other people have judged differently,
right?
Who really aren't. And they really have skills all their own that may not be as recognizable or identifiable to the quote-unquote normal person. It's they have a passion about something,
Mm-hmm.
maybe different than what you perceive as a passion. They have a passion. They have a, everyone has a perception, a passion, something that excites them, something that they have a gift, a talent to do, and it's engaging in that. To me, that's the feeling of perfection, being able to engage in it. I'm not going to simply turn around and say I'm the best drummer in the world. That'd be ridiculous. Am I an excellent drummer? That's a moving target. That's not an identifiable thing. You can't put your finger on that. And when it comes to excellence, I know people who are perfectionists who have mastered playing a set of drums, and I've heard them, I've seen them, I've stood in their company and watched them, and they are phenomenal people. However, I have fun doing what I do. It may not be what they do, and it may not be to the degree technically that they do it. However, what I do is to engage in it from a feeling of perfection, and I think that's. Am I wrong in stating that that's maybe the way we ought to be looking at this whole thing in terms of feeling of perfection, or maybe identifying it?
Oh, no, Michael, I think you hit the nail on the head, and you always, so many things that you say get my mind. I'm like, okay, this and then this, and I grab onto this. And when you started talking about Special Olympics and how much it touches your heart and the perfection, and all I could think of was like a children's choir, like when your child is up on stage and maybe they're not singing off key, but through the parent's eyes, they're seeing perfect. That child is perfection in their eyes. And nobody, I'm not criticizing them for being off key. And there was an episode, I don't even know how many years ago it was. I will look it up and post it on Instagram. But it was Britain's Got Talent, and there was a primary teacher, and they sang a song called Don't Stop Me Now by Queen. And what was so interesting, as the head teacher was introducing before they did the performance, he said, well, we've got some good singers, and then we have kids that are enthusiastic. And I love that word, enthusiastic. Good. He didn't discount anybody who wanted to be in the choir. And when they were done performing, they had the judges in tears because it was funny. The kids themselves were so excited. You could see how fun it was because their teacher was rolling around on the ground with them, and they were singing, and it literally brought tears of joy to everybody, similar to what you were saying about the Special Olympics. And I love that they sang Don't Stop Me Now. I mean, you think about enthusiastic. When you are feeling perfect, you have that feeling of don't stop me now. And I'm sure that those kids in the Special Olympics are feeling that way too. Look at what I can do. And they're proud of what they're doing. And I'm sure the parents are just beaming with joy. And so thank you for that, because that brought me right, your words, like I said, you so inspire me. I mean, it's just amazing. I think enthusiasm is part of that perfection.
I like the word enthusiasm, quite frankly. I love that. Being enthusiastic, being excited. We don't use the word enthusiasm enough. I think it's kind of one of those words that I guess is reserved for specific circumstances. However, you can be enthusiastic about life. You can be enthusiastic about yourself and as a participant in life. And something Bashar said today, which again countered the thinking that I've had for and that many people have had for as long as we've been talking about spirit manifestation. You're a soul in human form. You're you're not a I believe you're not a non-physical being living a physical life. You're I'm not going to be able to say it. It was really strange.
You're not a physical person having a spiritual experience. You're a spiritual having a physical experience.
Yeah, there we go. All right, you got it. You're not a physical person having it. And it's really, it just turns it all around. Okay, so you're having a physical experience as
It came out perfectly, Michael. Perfect.
Non-physical. Yeah, all right. So,
because guess what? Somebody needed to hear us both laugh at the same time, and that made us exactly. So it happened. It just came perfectly.
If we could just as human beings lighten up on ourselves, lighten up, let it go, lighten up. There's no reason to be so caught up in the 3D world and the things going on that you're unable to feel joy, to feel excitement, to feel passion, to feel the perfection in the moment of what you're doing.
Right.
There's no reason for that.
You're so right, and I just want to compliment you too, because you made me think about something else in my Wayback Machine. And we do this show completely unscripted, and there is perfection in where our minds wander. And we would go when we're done with the show every week, we go, "Wow, where did that come from?" But I think it's our guides or whatever it is. But
yeah, I agree.
When I was a kid, and I believe it's still on the market, it was a board game called Perfection by Hasbro. It wasn't really a board game. It was a sort of a puzzle that you had all these little pieces, and they were shapes that were set like all different kinds of things, diamonds and hexagons and flowers and all kinds of things, and you had them thrown on the table, and you had so much time. I don't remember exactly how much it was. You had 25 pieces that you had to fit into these little holes with the timer, and if you didn't get them in, then they all blew up. It popped up, and all the pieces flew up all over the place.
Yes, I remember that game.
And I thought,
yeah.
We almost need that to be like a standard in everybody's home, because it's a great reminder that even though we think it's kind of like a great metaphor for life. We're trying to put all the little pieces in, and guess what? It can all pop out.
Yeah.
And you got to begin again, and, but there's some excitement in there, and there's a challenge, and there is fun. There's fun in that. There's a lot of fun, and that goes back to what you were saying before with the feeling. Feeling perfection brings perfection, so feel it until it arrives.
Yeah. I mean, it is, you got to fake it. It's the hack. The hack is, I don't feel good today. If you smile, in spite of the way that you initially feel, the smile will eventually take over. It will become, it will drive positive feelings. Just faking it. Not a fake smile, but really kind of just a wholehearted, or even just laughing. When you don't feel good about something, when something has occurred, laughing. I just laugh at it sometimes. I just go, gosh, that's laughable. That is an amazing thing. You're looking at it and going, how could that? It's laughable that could go so wrong. And just start laughing. And laughing is a great way to just let it go. Laughter is spectacular from that standpoint. And I have to do that again when I play golf, and the shot is so bad, and it came out of nowhere, that I'm looking at this going, I have to laugh at that. How in the world did that happen? And you go, okay, so what? Let's move on, right? So what? Let's move on. So what? Let's move on. All right. There's my next shirt. So what? Let's move on.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's
I'm liking
great.
That one.
Yeah. That goes
that's,
back to perfecting your moment, not your outcome, 100%.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah. So what? Let's move on. I think that, in my view, the reason why we have so much fun and we actually have depth in this show, that's what I'm going to call it, is because we don't in any way look to pre-create any aspect of the show other than a beginning, and we kind of let it go where it goes. To me, that's what opens the door to the thought process that enables us to come up with examples and other things that we you would think off the top of my head. No, I think we channel the show from our guides, because they know who needs what we have to offer and who's going to listen to the show. They know who is going to resonate with which aspect of the show, and I believe that's what we need to do. In my view, we need to. Otherwise, you could sit around and try to script a show and, again, look to achieve some sort of perfection with regard to a script, when in reality, the perfection is just letting it unfold. Mm-hmm. That's the perfection. There's no finger on the pulse of anything here. The finger keeps moving, and that is what I love about it. It's what I love about it. And if you think about a lot of things in life, and our listeners can think about a lot of things that they do in life, how often do you have the opportunity to do that? How often do you have the ability to just let something unfold instead of pre-scripting it, expecting it to be a certain way, and then becoming disappointed when it doesn't unfold that way, when it unfolded in a completely different way? And because you're upset about the way it unfolded, you are unable to see that the way it unfolded was the way it was supposed to unfold. You can't see it because you're all caught up in emotion. That's what negative emotions do. They blind you to seeing what it is, seeing what is right in front of you, which is what is supposed to be. And I have to constantly remember that. And when I come across people who are upset about something, that's generally what I tell them. I pass on that whatever it is that you're excited, that you're upset about, I would encourage you to step out of your feelings and emotions for a moment and just see the perfection in what has occurred. To see that what happened should have happened that way, and it happened that way for a reason. Because if for no other reason, it helped you understand what you didn't want in life. Now you know what you do want, which comes from Bashar, but it's brilliant. I've probably said it 40 years ago or something, but it happens. Everything happens for a reason. Nothing is pointless. There are no accidents. There are no coincidences. Everything is connected. We are all one. Oneness is what we seek to be an individual in this life in order to experience it from an individual perspective. However, in my heart, I feel we are all seeking to be one with one another. Mm-hmm. However, there are so many forces that get in the way of that are put in place to prevent that. And it's the divisiveness that occurs in every area of society it doesn't help that situation. It doesn't help. We have to become smart enough to recognize our own sovereignty and then move through that. See the veil, right? In other words, pull back the curtain and see the wizard, right? Mm-hmm. Pull back the curtain and see the wizard. And what happened to the wizard? Why is the Wizard of Oz should be standard operating procedure for raising a child?
I think so too.
Standard operating procedure. As soon as they are old enough to understand and not be scared by the Wicked Witch of the West or the Tin Man or
the flying monkeys,
whatever, flying monkeys, any of that. As soon as they're able to, to not be, afraid of that, to be able to absorb it, should watch that movie. Yeah, because and then parents should say, this is what society's like, right? There's a lot of things out there that are, pull back the veil. I want you to look past the curtain. Don't just look in front of the curtain at what's standing there, but pull the curtain back and actually see what's going on and reason it out for yourself, right? Reason it out. Do some critical thinking. Mm-hmm. Gather some information together and coalesce that into a theory perhaps, and get quiet and see what works for you. Not everything is, you have to take a lot of things in a sort of a way that's not linear. We have to be able to do nonlinear thinking, to step out of things and involve our own creativity. There's less of that going on right now, and digital age doesn't make it any easier. It doesn't. Yep. And we have to start thinking for ourselves. All the stuff we talk about on the show, which is interesting, has nothing to do with the digital age. It has to do with just being a non-physical being experiencing this life in the physical way.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
and
it's about.
opening up to new opportunities and embracing our imperfections, and then sitting back and watching how beautifully everything unfolds, one imperfect step at a time. And that's where the magic happens. And Michael, thank you. I'm so grateful for this thought. You and I are both practically perfect in every way, and as are our listeners. And so grateful you joined us here on Connect to Love. And please follow us on Connect to Love Energy on Instagram. And Michael, looking forward to our next adventure.
I am. I will be. We have next week, and then I'm looking forward to next week's show. I really am, because I'm looking forward to what else we discover this week that we can take into the next show. Because the unfoldment here is brilliant. Okay, thank you. Perfect
Thank
feeling
you so much.
from me in this show. Thank you.
Thank you too.